Over the years, I've realized that when someone gets a life-changing cancer diagnosis, they naturally start looking for ways to take back control over their health, their choices, and their future. And you know what's often the first thing people focus on? Their diet. Jump on Google, type in cancer and diet, and you'll see one word pop up everywhere: sugar. I hear it all the time. Doc, I'm cutting out all sugar to starve the cancer. It seems to make sense, right? Cancer cells use sugar for energy, so if you cut off the sugar supply, we're fighting the cancer? Simple? Well, not quite. The relationship between sugar and cancer is actually way more complicated than that. What do we mean by sugar? Are we talking about glucose, fructose, or sucrose? Natural sugars in fruits or just processed sugars? Are we concerned about sugar intake before cancer develops or after diagnosis? When you say cancer cells feed on sugar, what exactly do you mean? Are you suggesting that only cancer cells use sugar while healthy cells don't? Do you imagine cancer cells specifically targeting that dessert you enjoyed at dinner? And have you thought about the consequences of trying to eliminate sugar completely? Now, how exactly are sugar and cancer connected? The real link is through obesity and chronic inflammation. Processed foods are loaded with added sugars and unhealthy fats. Eating too much of them leads to weight gain, which causes inflammation in the body. This inflammation raises levels of hormones like insulin and insulin-like growth factors, which in turn can help cancer cells grow faster, but only if cancer is already present. Research shows that being overweight increases the risk of 13 different types of cancer, including breast, colon, and kidney cancer. So what's the takeaway? Limiting sugary and processed foods is a great way to lower cancer risk. But that's not the same as cutting out sugar entirely after the cancer diagnosis. Now, let's talk about why people believe sugar feeds cancer. The idea comes from something called the Warburg Effect. Here's how it works. Normal, healthy cells use oxygen to break down sugar completely and extract maximum energy. Cancer cells are different. They gobble up sugar much faster than normal cells, but they're wasteful with it. Instead of using oxygen efficiently, they only partially process sugar, producing a waste product called lactate. However, and this is really important, you can't starve cancer by cutting sugar from your diet. Here's why. If you don't eat sugar, your liver will just make its own sugar from proteins and fats. This is a natural process called gluconeogenesis. If cutting out sugar could really starve cancer cells, it would also starve your brain and muscles, which absolutely need sugar to function. But your body is too smart to let that happen. It will always ensure there's enough sugar for your vital organs. Now, let's look at what PET scans teach us about sugar and cancer. PET scans track sugar metabolism in the body by using a special glucose tracer. Cancer cells do light up on PET scans because they take up sugar at a higher rate. But you know what else lights up? Your brain. While it's only 2% of your body weight, your brain consumes 20% of your glucose. So this tells us something important. Sugar isn't just fuel for cancer, it's fuel for life. The idea that sugar is somehow uniquely toxic to cancer cells just doesn't hold up. But this brings us to another question. What about fasting? If cutting sugar doesn't work, could fasting help? There's actually some scientific evidence that fasting before chemotherapy, typically for 24 to 48 hours, might make cancer cells more vulnerable to treatment while protecting normal cells. This is called the differential stress response. Cancer cells, because of their uncontrolled growth, don't adapt well to low energy environments, while normal cells do. But fasting is not for everyone. Many advanced cancer patients develop cachexia, a condition where they lose weight and muscle mass uncontrollably. Cachexia happens in 50 to 80% of advanced cancer cases and is responsible for 20 to 30% of cancer-related deaths. In these cases, fasting can actually be harmful, worsening malnutrition and weakening the body's ability to fight cancer. Some people look for middle ground and turn to intermittent fasting or fasting-mimicking diets. Instead of complete fasting, FMDs use very low calorie, low protein, and high fat diets for a few days, mimicking the effects of fasting without full food deprivation. Early research suggests that FMDs may help enhance chemotherapy response, but we still need more studies before they can be widely recommended. Then there's the ketogenic diet, a high fat, low carb diet that forces the body to burn ketones instead of glucose for energy. The idea here is that if cancer cells prefer glucose, cutting carbs will starve them. While early research shows some promise for glioblastoma, a type of brain cancer, the reality is that most cancers can adapt and use alternative fuel sources like fatty acids and amino acids. More importantly, keto diets can be dangerous for cancer patients, especially during chemotherapy when the body needs adequate nutrition. A strict keto diet may not be sustainable for most patients, which is why a well-balanced diet remains the best approach. So, what should cancer patients eat? The goal isn't to eliminate sugar but to maintain energy, strength, and support recovery. Avoiding excessive added sugars and processed foods helps reduce inflammation. Eating plenty of whole, nutrient-dense foods, fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats, and fiber ensures proper nourishment. And most importantly, maintaining adequate calorie and protein intake prevents muscle loss and helps with treatment recovery. Now, what not to do? Don't cut out all sugar. Your body still needs glucose. Don't attempt extreme fasting or keto diets without medical supervision. And don't fall for online myths. Always trust science-backed nutrition advice. So what's the final takeaway? There's no magic diet that cures cancer. Extreme restrictions can actually harm patients. The best approach? A balanced, personalized diet that supports overall health and treatment. So the next time someone tells you, just cut out sugar to starve cancer, you'll know that science tells a different story. And if this was helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop any questions in the comments below.